Probably of all the products I've been sent recently, this thing has been the most impressive item I've used. It's the thing that I've used a lot more than I expected. Today we are looking at the Freewell Eiger matte box system that has been sent to me by Freewell themselves, but they have no say in this video whatsoever and don't get to see it until it is uploaded. So what is so impressive about this matte box? Well, it is a complete system. We've seen this before with other manufacturers, mainly from Tilta with their Mirage. These are matte boxes that are designed to be used within the ecosystem of a particular brand. Now there are pros and cons to that, and we'll get onto the cons a bit later. But I have to say this particular one is very impressive down to a few key features. I think most impressively with the Freewell is how the variable ND actually works. You actually slot in the variable ND filter, and then once it's slotted in the top corner you have a dial that you can turn to adjust the variable ND. This is a really nice way of doing it. It's very intuitive, it's very easy to do, but it's also out the way and you don't have to worry about accidentally knocking it. In addition to that, the system has magnetic filters that can be added into the tray behind as well. This is a very simple system where we've seen other magnetic systems from Freewell in the past, and this works just as well. You just easily magnetically attach each one, and it's got things like a 32 IR filter right here, as well as a snow mist filter, and this is a quarter, which I was using all the time on a recent shoot. The matte box comes with a set of rings that you attach to the front of each of your lenses, and they've got different sizes for different size lenses, which is great to see, and of course you can buy more if you want to have them basically permanently attached to each of your lenses, which is probably something I will be doing in the future. Mainly because it's just once you've got them on, it is so easy to quickly take it on and off of each lens. That's one impressive thing with this system. It's just a nice clamp system that you then tighten down. And it is just really nice how quick and easy it is to adjust. The fiddliness of being able to put a matte box on and take it off when you're changing lenses is one of the reasons that's always put me off getting a matte box in the past. And that's certainly not a problem with this particular system. Finally, what's nice about all of this is it just covers all different lens sizes. That's one big plus of having a matte box system over just using screw-on filters. You get your adapter set with the matte box, so you're kind of ready to go with just this setup in place. You don't need to go out and get any more additional bits to make it all work. So let's talk about the build quality, and it is very plasticky. Perhaps that is one of the negatives, but it's certainly more than good enough, and despite having some pretty heavy usage over the last few months, I've got no concerns about its build quality and whether it's going to survive long term in actual production shoots. This is definitely a lot better than just something that you would just chuck on the front to make your camera system look impressive. This is actually a proper functioning system that really does add quality to the type of work that you're producing. You can also take off the flag as well as the front of the matte box as well. So if you just want to use it like a filter tray, that is also an option. This can come off a little bit easy sometimes. There's been a couple of times where I've actually knocked it off accidentally, but generally it holds on very well. Now let's look at the image quality of those filters, and starting off with the snow mist filter, I am really impressed with what you can get with this quarter snow mist filter. I think the idea of a snow mist is that it produces a slightly whiter look compared to a standard mist filter, and I used it a lot on the recent shoots where we had a lot of lifestyle going on, and throughout that entire time I kept it on because I just really liked the look. There were a couple of times I did feel it was a bit too strong, but for the most part it just produced some really nice blooming in the highlights and softened off the edges. Having a 32 ND IR is also really nice to have. The IR filters cut infrared light, so this is ideal if you're using a camera something like a Blackmagic, which can have a lot of IR pollution problems when using ND filters that don't have this in. If you use, for example, the variable ND without the IR in there, then you do start seeing big problems with pollution on the Blackmagic cameras, but that is a Blackmagic and Red thing, and not really a concern if you're using different camera manufacturers. Finally, here is the variable ND, and once again I am impressive with the image quality. Yes, there might be a little bit of color cast going on, but very similar to what you see from other variable NDs. Now let's get on to some of the negatives that this matte box has. And first off, it is the magnetic system it uses. That is very convenient. It's great to be able to slap on your filters so easily using magnets, but it does come at a slight frustration and cost, and that is it's slightly difficult to actually get them off. You've got to really try and get your fingers in there to actually pull them away from the matte box filter. And because it is so deep on a filter compared to just using a normal screw-on filter, it is a bit tougher to do. There are some little grooves that you're meant to get your fingernails in, but it is very difficult to actually remove the filter while actually out on a shoot. The second issue I've had is with the flag being only attached at one end. It can just sort of bounce around a bit, which can be a bit annoying. It doesn't feel that secure. It does feel like there's a good potential chance that it could break. I also find that if you want to adjust it, you end up kind of loosening it so you can easily move it up and down. But when you do so, then you've got to tighten it up again. And I think maybe over a long period of time, that tightening and loosening could become a problem. I think having one that you could easily adjust without needing to tighten and loosen all the time would be much better, but probably to do so would require having attachments at both ends. The final negative really is just generally matte boxes versus screw-on filters, and that is it's just a lot larger. When you factor in the matte box itself, the filter trays and the adapter rings that you need to put all this together to actually use the matte box and an ND filter in, it's obviously a lot larger than just using screw-on filters. So that is certainly one negative. If you're trying to go small and light, this isn't really the way to go. However, if that isn't really a concern, then this is a great option and just gives you some more flexibility that screw-on filters just can't give you. One other negative, and this goes across all of these matte box systems in general, is that this isn't a standardized system. Now you can slot in some filters, they've even got a tray in the front there, but proper matte box systems are much larger. They take 4x4 filters and 4x6 filters, they have rotating stages, they have plenty more other features that this doesn't have. They are a very different system compared to what we have here from Freewell, or even any of the others from other manufacturers. So who is this for? Well, I truly believe it is a great option for pros. Although it's actually a fairly affordable system compared to some much more expensive matte boxes you can get out there, it's pretty solid. It does everything you want. I'm really impressed with the filters that have come with it. I like the way it works. It runs smoothly. It's easy to use. And I can't really have any big complaints about it at all. And I highly recommend if you are a pro doing a lot of shooting and you're looking at potentially getting a matte box for your camera, then definitely check this one out. I like that the matte box isn't actually too big. There are other matte boxes out there that I've used and seen before that are absolutely huge and are ridiculous for mirrorless cameras like the Sony FX3 and A7 IV. But that's not the case with this one. This is an ideal size for that sort of camera. So if you're rocking a mirrorless camera or even something up to like a C70 or even something like a Komodo, I think this is a great option to go for. Who's this not for? Well, clearly it's not for much bigger productions. They're going to be using much more expensive matte box systems, and they're going to be using systems that are actually industry standard. It's not for those that want to keep their kit tiny either. As I said, it takes up a lot of space, not just on the front of your camera, but also in your camera bag. You are sacrificing a lot of space to carry one of these things around compared to screw-on filters. So you kind of have to know that you're definitely going to be using it on a shoot, and if space in your bag is at a premium, then this perhaps would be something you'd want to leave behind. Finally, for beginners and hobbyists out there that just perhaps want to get a matte box to play around with, or they just feel like they need to make their cameras look more impressive, then to be honest, this isn't one you should really go for. First off, feel confident in yourself. You don't need to get a matte box, but if you do want to impress people with a matte box on the front of your camera, then there are more affordable options out there. There's the cheap tilter one that is really tiny, doesn't do too much, but does make your camera look quite cool, and it is just fine and simple enough to use. And to be honest, if I was wanting to get a cheap matte box, I'd probably go for that instead. But for those that do want to invest a bit more in a matte box system that has everything they need all in one place, then I think this is a great option to go for. If you like the sound of the Freewell Eiger matte box, then please make sure you use the link below to pick one up, as it helps out the channel. And also make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video as well, because it also massively helps me out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.